So yesterday we started with the third chapter of the module 3, that was authentication 2. In that we come across the concept of centralized authentication. After getting the introduction of centralized authentication, we found the differences between the public key cryptography as well as the secret key cryptography, and we understood that secret key cryptography is far better compared to public key cryptography. So later we understood the key distribution center concept, the functions of KDC, key distribution center. Then two protocols are used under KDC functions. One is Needham-Skrudlar protocol and second one is Kerberos protocol. So yesterday we discussed about all the versions of the Needham protocol. We started with the preliminary version 1, preliminary version 2, preliminary version 3 and ended with final version of Needham protocol. So today we'll start with the second type of protocol in which supports the key distribution center. So hope you're observing all the content what we discussed yesterday. Today we'll start with the new concept or the protocol which supports KDC. This is the second type of protocol. It is called as Kerberos protocol. Yesterday I started the introduction of this concept. So this protocol, when user wants to interact with different servers, yesterday I've taken the example of having different mail ID. You assume that you have different mail IDs related to Yahoo, Gmail and our college PDIT. So like that you're having number of email IDs. It means that you are connecting to number of servers. And for your reference, for your easy remembrance, you want to maintain the same password for all the servers. No doubt, maintaining the same password for different email IDs is not appreciable. Definitely, it is a security risk. But being a human being, we don't have the too much intelligence to remember all the passwords for the different IDs. For our easy reference, what we are going to do, we are going to have the same password for different servers. So what is their intention here? Before going to the Kerberos protocol, what is the problem with having password based authentication system? If you use only password to maintain different servers, here the problem with this password should not be transmitted in the clear. But we discussed all these concepts in the beginning. Sometimes what we are giving the password, it will be stored in the database as it is. Attacker can attack your password immediately. That's why we thought of using hash function. We discuss these things. What is their intention is, what is the concept here? See that what you are giving the password should not be transmitted as it is to the database. Means it should be converted in some other format before entering to the database. It should not be possible to launch dictionary attacks. It means that anybody should not guess your password easily. See that your password itself should not be stored on authentication server. As it is, it should not be stored in authentication server. It should be stored in some other format. And here, when user wants to interact with number of servers, user is interested to enter his or her password only once during login. Please try to understand this. User is interested to enter his or her password only once during login. Thereafter, they are not interested to re-enter the same password to access the different servers. Hope you are getting my point. You are entered Yahoo mail ID with your password. Now you are interested to enter or you are interested to access Gmail ID. You can access, but no need to enter the password, because all the database people, the database administrator comes to know that same password is maintained for different servers. So this feature is called as single sign-on feature. It means that user is going to use password only once for multiple servers. And what you are going to give the password on a machine should be available for only few milliseconds, not even second. What you are entering the password on your machine where you are working, it should be available only for few milliseconds. Thereafter, it has to disappear. So these are the precautions we need to take when we are entering the password. So, but it is a risky, hence we thought of using a protocol called as Kerberos protocol. So this type of protocol, it was developed at MIT. We have different versions of this protocol. Presently, we are using Kerberos version 5 protocol. As we discussed in Needham protocol, when client and server wants to interact, both should get permission from KDC, Key Distribution Center. Yesterday we discussed, when client wants to interact with server or vice versa, both have to get permission from KDC. What KDC will do? Key Distribution Center will assign same secret key to both client and server. Here also same concept, but in case of Kerberos protocol is dividing its job into two servers. Kerberos protocol, KDC, is having two servers under that. His KDC is not going to manage as it is. KDC is having two assistant servers. One is authentication server, shortly it is represented as AS, and second one is ticket granting servers. It is represented as TGS. When you see here, when client C want to interact with server S, when client C want to interact with server S, in between these two people should take permission from Kerberos servers. Kerberos servers means authentication server as well as ticket granting server. Now the interaction between client and server by using this particular protocol will involve 3 steps. It's going to involve 3 steps, and remember, each step involves 2 messages. 2 messages for each step. How many steps we have in Kerberos protocol? 3 steps. It means that 3 into 2. Totally there are 6 messages in between client and server for communication. Hope you can see this figure. Here C stands for client. S stands for server. Clients want to interact with server. I'm showing here the direction. Client wants to interact with server. So when they want to interact together, in between, they have to take permission from this KDC. In Kerberos protocol, KDC involves 2 types of server. What I told, authentication server plus ticket granting server. Altogether, it includes a concept called as KDC. How exactly the working of Kerberos protocol happens? They are given here. Step number 1 involves 2 messages. Step number 2 involves 2 messages. Step number 3, again it involves 2 messages. What is step number 1? Step number 1 tells about receipt of ticket granting ticket. I'll repeat. Step number 1 tells about receipt of ticket granting ticket. What is happening here in step number 1? C requesting ticket granting ticket. You see, C is requesting authentication server. I want to interact with server. Please give me the permission. Then authentication server will give permission to C. That is happening in message 2. C receives ticket granting ticket from authentication server. Then the same message client C is passing to ticket granting server. See that. C step number 2, message number 3. C is requesting service granting ticket. C is requesting TGS. What it is saying? I want to interact with server. Please give me the permission. TGS also is giving permission to C. Now C got permission from 2 servers. One permission from authentication server, one more permission from TGS server. How many permissions you need to accept? It has to accept, it has to take permission from 2 servers. To get permission 2 times, it has to perform how many messages? 4 messages. After that, C is going to interact with server, that is message 5. And for that request, server is going to respond to client, that is message 6. Now try to understand what is message 1 here. C is requesting authentication server. Hope you're understanding this. This is the terminology we are going to use in your automata theory concept. C is requesting authentication server. Authentication server is responding to C. So many parameters are there. What C is requesting, when C is requesting authentication server, what it is sending? When authentication server is giving response to C, what are the parameters it is sending? Authentication server is permitting C by sending secret key. Step number 2, which tells about receipt of service granting ticket. Step number 2 again involves how many messages? 2 messages. In message 3, C is requesting ticket granting server by sending so many parameters. I want to interact with server, please give me the permission. For that request, ticket granting server is giving response to C, saying that you can interact with server with so many parameters. Then in step 3, how many messages? Again 2 messages. What is that? After getting permission from authentication server, after getting permission from ticket granting server, client is sending information to server saying that I am ready to interact with you. And for that request, server is responding to client, again with some parameters. So this happens in Kerberos protocol. Client and server both are interacting again with the permission of KDC. But here KDC stands for Key Distribution Center. In Needham protocol, what has happened? KDC itself is distributing secret key both to client and server. But here the advanced concept of Kerberos protocol is KDC is having 2 assistant servers. One is authentication server and second one is ticket granting server. When client is interested to interact with server, client has to take permission from authentication server by sending 2 messages. Means by sending 1 message and getting response from that AS. After that, again it has to put a request to TGS, ticket granting server. Ticket granting server again will give permission to client. After getting permission from these 2 servers, then client is going to interact with server. What is your observation here? Security is enhanced. Number of permission is increased. Why we need to increase the number of permission? If there is genuine communication between client and server, then only client will take permission 2 times. Hope you have observed in the college also. When you want to take leave, so many times you have seen, I'm going to instruct you, you write a letter, get a signature from your subject teacher, get a signature from your mentor, then come to me. If it is genuine reason, if you want to take leave, if the reason is genuine, definitely you'll go to meet your subject teachers. After meeting the subject teachers, you'll go to mentor, you'll get signature, then you'll come back to HOD. When it is genuine, here also, how many permissions we increase there? Permission of all the subject teachers plus permission of mentor, then permission of HOD. You see how many permissions you need. Why so much permission? Because if the reason is genuine, then only you'll go for leave. Here also, client is going to interact with server. If it is genuine communication, then he will take permission from 2 servers. So hence, security is enhanced. The same concept is explained in step 1 here. In step 2 also, what I told. In step 2, again 2 messages. I'll come back to this. In step 1, C is requesting AS, authentication server. In step 1, what is the message 2? Authentication server is responding to C, saying that you can interact with server with the key, what I'm sending. This is the key, what I'm showing here. This is the secret key. In step 2, what is happening? Again, C is putting a request to ticket granting server in message 3. And in message 4, ticket granting server is giving permission to client, saying that you can interact with server with this key what I'm going to share to you. Later on in step 3, client is going to have interaction with server by sending 5th message saying that I want to interact with you, by sending the keys provided by both the servers, authentication server plus ticket granting server. By seeing those 2 keys, server understood that, oh, client has taken permission from both the server, and both the servers have permitted the communication between me and client, then only server will give response to client. So this is about Kerberos protocol, right? Which is more advanced than your Needham protocol. Needham protocol, we are not taking too much care, but in Kerberos protocol, we are increasing the number of permission. If there is a genuine communication is required between client and server, definitely they are going to take permission 2 times. They need to send 2 messages for each permission. One is the request, one is the response. Next concept of this chapter is biometrics. So this concept is very easy to understand and very easy to remember, and is important for examination also. Preliminary tells about the introduction of biometrics. A biometric is a biological feature or characteristics of a person that uniquely identifies him or her over his or her lifetime. We can identify you people uniquely. That is possible only in biometric. By using some biometric identifications such as your face, your voice, your manual signatures, your fingerprint. By taking your fingerprint, by seeing your signature, by seeing your face, by hearing your voice, we can identify you are this person. That happens only in biometric. But more recently, what is happening? The biometric feature is also enhancing the patterns. Instead of using the common patterns like your fingerprint, signature, face and voice, they're expecting more effective patterns such as iris of the human eye and DNA have been used to identify a person. You have seen so many cases in criminal cases or in sexual harassment cases. Definitely they want to test DNA of the person. DNA definitely it will identify who is that person. And that is the biological feature. When it comes to behavioral parameters, traits such as just by seeing the behavior of the person, we can identify the person. Example, keystroke dynamics. How you are typing, how much time you are taking time to press a key to release a key. That is keystroke dynamics. Typing speed, it varies from person to person in terms of millisecond. Your typing speed is totally different from your friend. Similarly, walking style, walking pattern, walking time. By seeing your behavior on walk, on keystroke, we can identify the person. So why we went for biometric? Why we went for fingerprint? Why we went for your face recognition, voice recognition? Because we are not happy with only textual password. We are not happy with your only ID cards. See, for example, when you are interested to enter into the college campus, what you need to show? You need to show ID card, right? By showing the ID card, you can enter into the campus. But showing the ID card and enter into the campus is a old technology. Instead of that, what we can do? We can capture your face. You have to show your face in front of the biometric machine. If it identifies that you are the student of PDIT, you can enter into the campus. That we can do. That will help us to maintain our campus, and we can allow only our students into the campus. A biometric is a concept where it is going to identify the person by seeing their physiological or behavioral characteristics, right? By seeing your physiological as well as behavioral characteristics. In biometric, there are two main processes. One is the enrollment and second one is the recognition. I'll tell you in a simple way. What is meant by enrollment? For example, you're joining a big company. Tomorrow you're going to join. So during joining, what they will do? They will take your biometric registration. What is meant by biometric registration? You need to enroll yourself to the company. They will take 3 patterns of your thumb, left thumb. It's an example. They will take 3 to 4 patterns of your left thumb. That 3 to 4 patterns are called as reference template. You need to give minimum 3 to 4 patterns of your left thumb as the reference template during enrollment. What you are giving the reference template, what you are giving 3 to 4 left thumb impression, all they are going to store in database, right? Next day you are coming to the company and you are going to press your left thumb how many times? Only 1 time, right? Fresh biometric sample you are going to give. That fresh biometric sample is going to match, compare with all the reference template which are available in database. If it is going to match with any one of the template, then it will say you are the authenticated user. You are the valid employee. You can enter into the campus. Hope you understood the difference between enrollment and recognition. Enrollment is giving 3 to 4 patterns of your biometric. It may be a fingerprint, it may be a face, it may be your voice. You'll take 3 to 4 patterns of your face. From left angle, from right angle, from straight angle. So because we don't know how you are going to stand in front of the biometric system when you are coming for the next day. During that time, you are going to give fresh sample. That fresh sample is going to match with the reference samples which are in the database. If it is going to match at least some percentage, above 80%, above 90%, then the system is going to identify you are the valid user. That is the difference between enrollment and recognition. Enrollment happens only 1 time and recognition happens every time, every day, while entering into the campus, while leaving the campus, right? And during enrollment, you are going to give 3 to 4 samples of your biometric. But in recognition, you are going to give fresh sample. It is going to capture your face on that time. That is recognition. See, there are 2 scenarios in biometric. One is the authentication and one more is the identification. What is meant by identification? In database, it is going to store number of photos. We'll take example of your face only. In database, it is going to store number of faces of so many employees. When you are going to give your attendance by standing in front of biometric system, by showing your face, then it is going to match your face with all the faces which are available in database. It is called as one-to-many matches. It is called as one-to-many matches. Your one face is going to match with many faces which are available in database. If your face is going to match with any one of the photo in the database, then finally 1-to-1 is going to match. That is called authentication. Identification is one-to-many match and authentication is 1-to-1 match. I'll repeat. Identification is one-to-many match. Your photo is going to match with all the number of photos which are available in database. At some point of time, it's going to identify your photo and it will recognize that you are the valid employee. And last comparison is 1-to-1. And that 1-to-1 will tell you are authenticated user. You see this diagram. What is happening here? There are 2 things: authentication, identification. What is happening in identification? This photo Try to understand. This photo is going to match with all the photos of your database. You are going to stand in front of biometric system. It will capture your photo, and that photo is going to match with all the photos of database. It is going to match your photo with the first person. It will understood that you are not that person. Then it will match with the second person. Like that, it will match. Somewhere it is going to match with your photo. Your photo is matched with this photo. Then it comes to understood that, oh, this photo is matching and her name is Chaitali. That is authentication. One to many is identification, and once the match is happening, that is one-to-one match, that is called as authentication. Please you try to understand, authentication is one-to-one match. Once it is authenticated, your name is going to display. It is not happening in identification. What you are going to do in identification, just you are going to give your photo. If your photo is matched, in authentication it is going to tell your photo is matched. Welcome to company by showing your name. That is authentication, right? Understood? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next, what are the different characteristics of good biometric? You use any kind of biometric, the characteristics of good biometric is, so there are three characteristics. 1 minute, I'll come back to it. Right. What are the characteristics of biometric? It is having three characteristics. One is universality, uniqueness, permanence. What is meant by universality? Universality tells you need to take same kind of sample from everybody. If you are taking fingerprint, you take fingerprint sample from every person. If you are taking face, you take face from every person. Don't take few samples as fingerprint, few samples as face, which is not allowed. Universality tells taking same type of sample in biometric. Uniqueness tells it is going to identify you or the you. It will tell who is the person by seeing your biometric feature. By seeing your biometric sample, it will tell the name of the valid user. Even you give siblings, twins, then also it is going to identify these who are these two people. So that kind of uniqueness is there in the biometric. And permanence tells, this is what the problem with the biometric. Permanence tells what you are giving the sample is not permanent, but biometric tells you should not change over time your samples. Assume that today you are going to give fingerprint, but fingerprint, you know, it will work only up to 40 to 45 years. After that, probably, especially for female, the fingerprint is not going to work because they are going to do maximum work in the home. Hence, the fingerprint, those scratches, it is going to happen. So it is not going to be able to identify your fingerprint as the biometric sample. If you give your face, again, face is the problem with the age. As your age increases, the face is going to change. If you give your voice as the input sample, again, it's going to have problem when you are going to become sick. If you give a signature as the pattern, again, after the age, the way of putting the signature is different. All these comes under permanence. So there are three characteristics. I'll repeat. Universality tells you need to give same kind of samples as biometric samples. Uniqueness tells It is going to identify unique identity of the people. Permanence tells biometric sample should not change over the time, but it is going to change because of the age and time. Depending on the situation, we need to change biometric sample. So in your case study, in this chapter, they told we need to discuss about two things. One is the fingerprint and second one is the iris scan. So shall we discuss this in the next class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.